Hello everybody, my name could be Markiplier if you wanted to be, and this is a Q&A that I just randomly decided to do the other day. There's not a lot of questions at the moment, maybe I'll get some more in the future and I'll add them onto this video. If that happens, I will cut this part out. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for any more preamble, so let's just get into it. First question I got is, what or who is your favorite thing to draw? Now, besides the obvious, I don't think I really have like a definitive favorite thing to draw, and it is likely that this answer will change in the future, but for now, I'm gonna say that clothing folds are up there, which is apparently a crazy people thing to say, because one time I was having a conversation with like several of my friends, and we were talking about drawing clothing folds, and out of all of those friends, I was the only one that actually enjoyed drawing them. So, now I wouldn't say I'm the best at clothing folds, but because of the fact I do a lot of gesture drawing in school, you know, that is sort of like familiarizing me with more realistic looking clothing folds, and overall I just find the process very fun. I do also enjoy drawing roses specifically, and sort of like spiral shapes in general, and I also like drawing leaves and other such similar shapes.
Add on, I forgot to mention this while recording. I also really like drawing the knuckles on the hands. I know that's very specific, but every time I draw a human character, I try to emphasize the knuckles somehow.
Second question is, what's one fandom you're in that you don't talk about much? Short answer, probably needy streamer overload. Long answer, they're, technically speaking, I've been in a lot of fandoms over the years, and if we like take don't talk about much more broadly to also include haven't talked about it in a while, then there are a lot of answers for these. For example, I don't really talk much about Parties Are for Losers or the Stanley Parable right now, but I did have pretty strong hyperfixations on them in the past, where I talked about them a bunch, but now those hyperfixations are just kind of dormant, although I am starting to pick up the Stanley Parable again. I don't know if like creator fandoms would also count as well, but like I don't really talk about those a lot of the time, unless it just kind of like gets brought up, basically. I also don't know if like object fandoms count. I don't mean like object shows. I would say that is also part of the answer, but it's more so like I was really hyperfixated on them in the past, now it's just kind of dormant as well. But I'm talking about objects like real life objects, like things like roller coasters, you know. I had a big roller coaster hyperfixation in 2023, and it's just been dormant ever since. I guess mouthwashing also counts, because like I'm still in the fandom right now. If I come across a piece of like fan media on my feed, I do interact with it, although I just don't really seek it out myself because it's not like one of my main fandoms. It's just that the popularity of mouthwashing basically went as soon as it came, so there's just not that much content out there that you can find right now, or at least not as much as how it was in its heyday. But overall, I would say that needy streamer overload I just don't talk about like in general, despite the fact I have been in the fandom for years and I do interact with fan and official media for it regularly. Next question. What is your creative process when it comes to designing new characters? This is a very long answer because there are like a lot of different things that go into it. But I'll try to make it brief. Sometimes I get inspired by like an object or a concept in real life, and I try to make a character around that. Sometimes I get inspired by a song or another story that I saw. If the character is based off of like an object or a concept or a song or something like that, it's usually like more or less, you know, meant to be like a personification of those. And then I include things in the character design that are cleverly related to the thing they're supposed to be an embodiment of. For example, So far, I would say this answer applies to both OCs and AUs. So let's say I have an AU where Cyrus is supposed to be a personification of the sun, because this is the symbol, the like astronomical symbol for the sun. I included this like circular design on his skin as well. So I just try to do things like that. Otherwise, a lot of my character designing process is pretty much just kind of like just like slapping different things together that I like to form a new character. Like, you know, something I find cool or am personally interested in. I just kind of do like a little mix and match until I feel like I can make a good character out of it, basically. So that's just for like creating the character and you know, like sorta a little bit about their design. Speaking of their design, there is also colors are also very, very important to me. So I'm not sure how many people notice, but I tend to use not that many bright colors. Like usually when I make a character, the colors aren't necessarily dull, but like they're not overly saturated or anything. I do use like bright little accents of color just to like make it pop out more, but the overall color scheme of the character design is something kind of more dull. And I also use a lot of pure black and pure white for accents because those colors work with pretty much any other color there is. Yeah, that's just kind of like a cop out I very frequently use. I think that having like grayscale along with like a few accents of color is probably like my signature move when it comes to character design. Besides that, color schemes are also incredibly important to me as well. Usually, I do complementary color schemes or split complementary color schemes. Sometimes I do analogous, but I find those are a little bit harder for me to like make them look good. Sometimes I also do triadic color schemes, in particular red, blue, and yellow. Although the thing is, whenever I do one of those, I also feel like it looks way too similar to the Romania flag. So then I just get embarrassed. For like outfits and hairstyles and such, for hairstyles I just kind of wing it. Again, it's usually based off like some sort of like hairstyle that I also personally like. As for their outfits, it's either like I take like clothing items that I would personally want to wear or I personally like, or I also just like look on the internet for outfit inspiration. Sometimes to help the creative process for character design going, I also like make a little beta base on Gacha Life and then pretty much just like take that and then make improvements or changes where I see fit. So a lot of the creative process for character design is pretty much, I wish that this character existed in real life because they look really cool. Or rather, I'm gonna make a character that looks really cool because that's how I also want to be in real life. More or less, something like that. Again, you know, it also depends on like what character we're talking about, but the most general answer would be this. Next question. How much research goes into your character design? I'm gonna say right now that it's a lot. It's kind of a lot. But a lot of the answer for this one is also sort of like hand in hand with the answer for the previous question. So, otherwise, I would say that research and character design is like most important to me when I'm basing the character off of like a concept or like an object or anything like that, or they're in like any sort of time era that is not modern times, because then I have to do research on what attire those people wore back then and stuff like that. And again, I don't know if like looking up outfit inspirations on Google counts as research for character design, but if it does, I do also tend to do some of that just because outfits are actually really hard for me. So I do have to look up inspiration frequently online or even in like physical stores. Sometimes I find things that look pretty cool and I just like take a picture of it so I can use it on future character design. But overall, I try to make as much research as I can when it comes to character design. I try to make it as respectful and like accurately portrayed as possible in a way that is still sort of like creative and like specific to my specific style. You get what I mean? So, yeah. Are there any character design aspects that you dislike or avoid personally doing? Now, I wouldn't say there's a lot, if any at all. I personally believe that if you have enough creativity and skill in character design, you could take just about anything and make it work, which is what I try to be. So I wouldn't say there's like any specific character design elements I, exactly dislike. I guess, I'm not a fan of how those characters look in certain animes. The little girls with gigantic honkers. I really hated those. But again, I feel like that is also the fault of the designer for said character and the artist of said character, mostly the designer. But again, I do believe that there is always the opportunity to take a character design you don't like and make it better, like improve it. Some things I just avoid doing is, I don't really make characters with like super vibrant colors everywhere. I do, put like vibrant color accents from time to time, but I wouldn't make a character that's just like totally all bright ass, fully saturated RGB CMYK color scheme, because that would probably just give me a headache looking at it. Sometimes I do make Ice Train art, but like I wouldn't make an Ice Train character. The closest that would be right now would be one of my older OCs, Hypa, who is supposed to have that sort of like really hyper, it's in the name, hyper excitable personality, so that's why I feel like the vibrant colors fit them a lot more. But you can still see that their outfit is also primarily black and white, because I don't want to like go overboard with it. But again, that's just for the sake of my own eyes and brain. It's not like I hate that. It's not like I hate that sort of character design. I just try to be careful with what I'm doing, because I do have a history of brain hurt when look at screen too long. So yeah.
Another add-on. I would also like to clarify that another character design element I personally avoid doing as much as I can is animal elements. Pretty much any non-human element, and I know that's a little crazy because I make a lot of non-human characters, but I can fuck around with like some unnatural skin tones or anything like that. I'm just not the best at drawing things like wings or like animal ears or animal tails or anything like that. Again, it's not like I hate these character design elements, and sometimes I just like do intentionally make a character with those character design elements despite knowing damn well I am not the best at drawing those things. I just don't do that very often because I'm aware of how bad I am at drawing those things. So yeah.